TikTok photography hacks. Love them or hate them. Today we're gonna test some out so that way you don't have to. What is going on, everyone? My name is Finn Badgley. I'm a commercial fashion portrait photographer and all-around content creator. And today I'm going to look at a couple different TikTok photography hacks and we're going to test them out. So that way you don't have to test them yourself. And if you like any of them, maybe you can implement them into your own photography. So without further ado, let's look at some of these and see how they go. So there are 4 different hacks that we're going to look at today, and all of these have some form of virality. And actually all of these, the main thing you really need is just a smartphone. So these are really accessible to do and might just give you a little bit of fun. Also, make sure to watch till the end of this video where I review all of these and see if I would use these or maybe not. We have our first one here from user Kata Moggs, I believe. I'm gonna mute the sound in all of these so that way I don't get copywritten. But the links to the full videos will also be down in the description below. So this one, it's pretty simple. We are taking some product photos and we are using a little mirror with a background on a laptop, and then we are photographing those on the mirror using the background from the laptop as the background. Basically gives you a bit of a different look and could be good if you run like an Etsy shop, if you sell your own jewelry or something like that. So let's hop over to the computer to actually see what we can do with these. Okay, so for this first one, we have our 3 things here. We got our phone, we got our mirror, and we have our little bit of jewelry here. So what I did is I went ahead and found some free commercial use stock footage of just some ink being sprayed. I figured it might be an interesting background. So we'll go with that, and then we will get it all set up. Make sure to have your screen at a high brightness so that way this will work well for you. So the TikTok showed that we have it kind of tilted like so, and then we'll tilt the screen, hit play on this guy. Right about there looks good. Pause it. I can pause it. One thing you will encounter is that the mirror will block the spacebar. So if you're playing a video, have it paused beforehand. So I'm gonna insert our product here, and you can prop it up any which way you like. And then we'll go into our camera. And based on the angle here, I think I'm gonna need to flip my camera upside down to really get that in. Or you may even need to use a macro lens for this type of thing, because I'm having a bit of trouble actually getting the angle on here, or I may need to zoom in a bit and take a picture there. That's not bad right off the bat. And you know what? I may even pull this back a bit just so I can actually fit the phone in there. And I do have a light overhead currently. I switched my backlight that is usually blue. I switched that to a nice white light, and we're getting a bit of that highlight on the jewelry here, which actually will work pretty nice. Just so you're aware, this is also the style of mirror that was shown in the video. I've seen different mirrors also used. Probably something flat and longer would be better, but I kind of want to use what was shown off in the TikTok, so we're gonna go with that and see how this goes. We can take a look, and actually, that's not all that bad. I'm actually a little bit surprised. It worked out a little better than I thought it would. The other thing you also need to watch for that I'm discovering is getting your actual camera reflection in the mirror, which is a little bit tricky. But if we this would work better if you had a macro lens on your actual phone. But you know what? It's not the worst thing that I've seen. You know what? I almost want to get out my camera and just see how this would look if I tried something like that. So maybe we'll do that just to see the difference here. Okay, now because I'm shooting currently on my Canon EOS R, I have my backup camera, the Canon 6D. I got a macro lens on there. And what I want to do, I want to take a little bit of light and add it in there. So I have my aperture M9 here. I'm just going to turn that guy on and stick it on a low power, but just have something to give a bit of highlight and sparkle to the jewelry to actually spice it up a little bit. It was looking a little lackluster for my liking. So that's why we're throwing that guy on there. So let's see, if I come in here, it's actually pretty good. And the out of focus bits make it look like a bit of an interesting background. It's definitely its own look. I'm not sure if I'm the biggest fan of it personally, but if you have something like an Etsy shop or a jewelry shop and you're looking to take some more interesting photos of your jewelry, honestly, I think this hack would work really well for you. It wouldn't be for everything. I don't know if I would use it for some of my jewelry clients that I work with, but it's definitely something that's handy. It gives you something different to try out. I would give it a solid 7.625 out of 10. So yeah, not bad. Would I do it again? Maybe. Who knows? Okay, on to the next one. Next up, we have this one from Breakthrough Shots. What we're gonna need is some scotch tape, a couple glasses, a spray bottle, and like an iPad or screen of some kind, or like an object or something like that. So it looks like what we're doing here is we're taking the scotch tape, putting it on the glasses or whatever you have to prop it up, spraying it with water so you get the nice little water droplets on there, and then putting some image below it, and then theoretically when you get the lens close enough to this, it'll actually work to show a magnified image into the little droplets, and it can be a really cool effect. Now we'll see how this works on phone, and it might not be the most practical thing to use all the time, but you know what, it might be just be a little fun trick to play around with. So we'll see how this goes. All right, now we're on to the second hack here, and this is where we put the tape over top of a screen or an image of some kind, take a photo of it, and we're supposed to get it through the droplets. So we have our raised up glasses here. I got my iPad with a free stock photo from Unsplash. They used a flower, so I'm gonna use a flower, keep it simple. I got my tape and I got my spray bottle. So I think we have the sticky side of the tape up. I could be wrong, but we'll find out. I apologize in advance for that. You fold that over and stick it here. Stick that one there. I'm going to move my iPad out of the way while I spray this. There we go, nice mist. We want a nice mist out of this. I gave a couple test sprays just off to the side here so I know what I'm getting. Okay, that looks decent. The water droplets may be too small, but we will find out. So, maybe my water droplets are too, oh, maybe, here we go. Okay, so maybe the water droplets were too small there. You know what, I'm gonna try this again. Round 2, or round 3, I guess. I'm gonna use a new piece of tape. This is definitely something that you may have to try a couple times, I'm learning. I apologize for the sound. And I've learned the trick is not to just go psh, psh, psh on it and cover it in droplets. It's to use it very slowly and get some really nice big droplets on there. So let's see what that's gonna look like. Yeah, that's what we want there. Look at that. Those nice big droplets. We'll get a couple more really big ones on there. Yeah, that's perfect. Look at those. Look at that. That is what we want. That's what we're talking about. Some nice, huge water droplets. I think the bigger the better here, because it'll magnify it a little more and it'll be a bigger surface for the camera to focus on. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. So we're gonna see what this looks like now. And get the phone in position. It's a little weird, it's a little wonky. We'll adjust the iPad. I'm almost thinking if it were actually closer, it might be better. I'll give you guys an idea here. The trick is working, even if I pull it up more and zoom in. Definitely actually doing what it's supposed to do. The only thing is, I think we need to be closer. Okay, so rather than the giant boots that we got going on here, I'm gonna swap it out for some glass mugs. Okay, let's try this again. So now we got that there. Bring the phone in. Oh, that's much better. Look at that. All of a sudden, now we're getting the effect we want. So here's the thing. If we go closer, you can see, and it comes into view, it actually does work. Believe it or not, that's the exact effect that we're going for. And people have done this with the globe and like get the earth and a little drop on the end of a stem or something like that. But I find the key with this particular hack, where you elevate a piece of tape and you use the screen underneath, the key here is to not have it too far and not too close. If we were too close, the focal plane might be too close together and it wouldn't throw the background out of focus and it wouldn't look as good. But when we used the taller glasses, we can see that's like double the height. It was so far that we were actually getting some of the table in as well, which if we had a bigger surface and we weren't using something like an iPad, maybe that would work. But when we actually have it there and it's closer, it can actually work pretty well. Now, I don't know too many ways in which you would actually use this practically, but if you're just looking for a fun photography hack and you just want to play around, it's honestly not that bad. Yeah, it was actually kind of fun to do. I would give this practicality like a 2 or 3 out of 10. I can't really think of too many areas of which you would use this, but in terms of just an overall photography hack that maybe lets you learn a little bit of something and gets you playing around, gets the creative juices flowing, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. So yeah, I got nothing wrong with this one. On to the next. And next up we have this one from user Bahar Selenia. And what we need is just our phone, a light, and some elastics. So what it looks like we're gonna do is put the light on our phone and we're gonna use the elastics and attach it to our arm, and that should theoretically work as a nice backlight, giving us a nice silhouetted photo if we're gonna take self-portraits or something like that. This one, if you had a secondary phone or something, then you could use that. So what I'm gonna do for this is set my camera up on a tripod and use a self timer and take it that way, but you can use whatever really you have at your disposal. Okay, now it's time for hack number 3, and this is where we're gonna stick this to the side of my arm and see if we can get a nice silhouetted image out of it. I do have my second camera set up here that's going to be acting as a self-portrait, just so that way you don't just have the video to go off of, you also have the photo itself. So we're gonna set that up and see how this goes. Now myself, my initial thoughts, I'm not sure how bright this is gonna be, how well this is gonna work, but we're gonna roll with it anyways and see how it goes. One thing that I will do is, because of the flashlight just being from the phone, I'm gonna turn off all my surrounding lights, as I am currently being lit right now by a giant softbox. So we'll get that turned off and then see how this works. Okay, so I am now just lit by the flashlight on this phone. I'm gonna adjust my settings accordingly and see how this works. First, I have a little bongo tie here that I'm gonna attach this to my arm to. There was a hair tie in the video, but I have a bongo tie and not a hair tie, so that's what I'm gonna use. Okay, so there we go. It is secure on my arm. Now I'm gonna turn away and see how this looks. And maybe I'll adjust myself a little bit here and the flashlight itself. It seems it's only lighting up one direction, so if I adjust it a little bit, maybe it'll be better. Okay, you know what? In all actuality, that didn't work too bad. I currently still have the flashlight on my phone. I just turned my softbox back on. It's at its lowest power, so you can see the difference there. And for this, the camera I'm shooting on right now, I had to crank the ISO to about 5,000 so you could kind of see what was going on there. The light is very dim, but to show you, it is in fact elastic right on my arm. At first, I had it a little bit lower, down about here, and I find that didn't work quite as well. It would only light up to about here on me. So after reviewing some of the photos, I took some more and moved it up higher, so that way it would get the top of my head as well. And looking at the photos, I'm actually pleasantly surprised in how they turned out. I honestly did not think this was gonna work at all. I had very little hope for this, but honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised in how it worked out. I'll also show the camera settings from what the camera that actually shot these images were, as I was on the Canon 60 on a 85 1.8 lens, and I was at 1.8 because, like I said, on this camera I'm at 5,000 ISO, so I definitely needed the low light capabilities there. And that is something that you'll have to keep in mind if you're doing this as well, is that you're going to need some serious low light capabilities. So it's probably better to shoot it on a professional camera of some kind that has decent low light capabilities. Or if you have a secondary phone that's really good in low light, then maybe that'll work as well. But if you have something that doesn't work as well in low light, you're going to get a very grainy photo. And if that's the look you're going for, then by all means, all the power to you. But it might not turn out quite how you want because it will be very grainy, like I said. But honestly, that, for what it was, I'm impressed. I did not think that was going to work at all. I would give this a solid 7 out of 10. So far, I'm really impressed with all of these. And we have one left, so let's give that a shot. And this last hack, this is one you may have seen floating around. You take a toilet paper roll and you tape it or attach it in some way in front of the camera on your phone, and then you use a flashlight, and theoretically it will create a nice little spotlight effect that you can use to take some interesting portraits, self-portraits or anything of that variety. So we're gonna set this up and we'll see how it looks. Okay, and we're on to the last one here. This is probably the one I'm the most nervous for, and that's sticking this guy like so. So I got some gaff tape here. We're gonna stick that on there and then see how this looks. Okay, so we have this sucker gaff taped on there nicely, and I don't actually have a regular phone tripod. So what I'm gonna use, I have this cheap little light stand, and I'm gonna stick a little clamp on there and then get that rigged up. Okay, and there we go. That is a Cardellini clamp into a grip head on my little light stand. And it's not too heavy, it's not going to blow anything over. And then this we can just adjust like so to get the angle right. And we're going to take some self-portraits and see how this goes. Now, my initial thoughts going into this, here's the thing. I understand how this works. It works like a snoot and that sort of thing. But the inside of this being brown, it's not really going to absorb all the light, and it's not going to add to the light. It's not going to reflect it towards anything. It's just gonna kind of color it a little weird, and it probably won't work quite how it did in the video, but we'll play around with it and see how it goes. Again, I'm gonna need to shut all the lights off because we're just relying on this guy for that spotlight. So let's do that. Off the bat, I am impressed by this. The actual cutout is amazing. However, I don't know if it's my phone or the toilet paper roll itself or a bit of both. This is probably something that you want to use a separate camera for, because the actual camera in the phone does not have a telephoto lens on it. So unless you have a telephoto in it, well, you can see it on the phone screen there. It's seeing the actual, like you can see my finger in there. It's seeing the toilet paper roll, and even when I zoomed it into 4 times, as far as it would zoom in digitally, it still would see the corners, and that's just not the look that we're going for. So as far as can you use your phone flashlight as a spotlight? Yes, you can. It's not the brightest thing. Again, I am currently at 5000 ISO. But if you're trying to use it and take a photo with your phone at the same time, unless you have a telephoto lens on that particular model of phone, it will not work. So this both kind of met my expectations, but also went beyond them. I am around 4000 ISO right now to give you an idea of the type of settings you would need for this. I'm at f4 at 1/50th of a shutter speed. So that gives you the idea of how this looks. Now the spotlight, this effect, I'm impressed by. That, it's not the brightest, but it works. 7 out of 10. The actual effect in the camera, unless you have a telephoto lens, it will not work. So that I give a 3 out of 10. It's not perfect. There's ways around it, but as far as the actual video, the actual TikTok, it doesn't show you everything, which is why I test this guy so you don't have to. Now let's take a look at all of these and see which were some of my favorites. All right, and there you have it. So that was a little review and test of 4 viral TikTok photography hacks. and what I thought of them. Now, what I've come to realize with all of these is they have a little element of playing around with them to actually figure out how to get it right. And sometimes the video information, especially because they're only a minute with them being TikToks, doesn't give you everything you need to know, which is why I'm here. And with that, I think probably my favorite one was actually the silhouette self-portrait. I started doing self-portraits and it worked surprisingly well. Like I said, you just need that low light capability and you should be fine. But as far as the most practical, I think that jewelry one, again, if you're a small jewelry shop, if you have an Etsy store or something like that, it would probably be better for using a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. But I tried a phone at first because that's what they showed. But if you have a professional camera or even a macro lens for your phone, this will work very well for you and be something that is super practical and can get some great shots of your jewelry. So honestly, I think those are two of my favorites there. The macro one with the droplets, honestly, that was fantastic and just fun to play around. Not the most practical thing in the world, but it's fun. And nothing has to be something that will be super practical or make you money or anything. It's just fun, and I really enjoyed it. That last one was a little hit or miss, but some of these hacks are, and you just need to play around with them, figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And with all of that said, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you got some value out of it, maybe some laughs, maybe a bit of both. If you have found any other TikTok or otherwise photography hacks that you would like me to test so you don't have to, make sure to drop them in the comments down below and I'll be sure to check them out. Maybe I'll make a part 2 to this. With all that said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment if you like this kind of thing. You want to see me test out more weird camera hacks. Subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos so you never miss an upload. Work hard, rest often, and as always, I will see you on the next one.